This week in the Australian media, we saw just how badly a defamation case can go for somebody.
Having escaped the lion's den, Mr. Lehrmann made the mistake of coming back for his hat.
Yes, I am referring to the Lehrmann versus Network 10 case in the Federal Court of Australia, in which Mr. Lehrmann sought damages from Network 10 and Lisa Wilkinson after airing material on the project making imputations that Mr. Lehrmann had raped Brittany Higgins back in 2019.
Welcome back to this special edition of The Project.
It all started with a prime-time interview.
Now, this all came after criminal charges against Mr. Lehrmann were dropped on the matter. Sadly, not without a whole lot of mess there. This case has been very public and gained a lot of media attention. The first criminal case was essentially thrown out after a juror was found guilty of misconduct.
Prosecutors throwing out next year's retrial, saying the risk to Brittany Higgins' mental health was too high.
Still, after escaping from the lion's den, Mr. Lehrmann decided to seek damages from Network 10 and Lisa Wilkinson over their statements and the publications about the incident. This leads us to where we are now, and as it stands, has worked out very badly for Mr. Lehrmann. As it would happen, the judge presiding over this case was able to rule on the balance of probabilities.
Mr. Lehrmann raped Miss Higgins.
So what did we learn from this, apart from don't be a total dickhead, in the context of how a defamation case works? In considering a defamation case, several key elements must be considered. First of all, the plaintiff should consider if the case is worth pursuing due to the potential for the Streisand effect. I made a separate video on this, but essentially it's where the act of suing may in fact amplify the level of defamation. Secondly, the case must meet the serious harm threshold. They must be able to demonstrate that the defamation has caused significant damage to the plaintiff's reputation. The third element involves determining the imputations or the meaning conveyed by that defamatory statement. Now, in Mr. Lehrmann's case, that's pretty obvious, right? And based on this, the fourth component in the defamatory test is asking whether the plaintiff's reputation has been damaged based on those imputations or defamatory statements. The fifth element questions whether the plaintiff has been reasonably identified in the defamatory material. Now, in this instance, he wasn't explicitly stated as the person, but it was pretty easy, given the media coverage and the people involved, to determine that it was him. 6, when the publication is considered, it checks if the defamatory material has actually been disseminated to a third party or someone else. And 7, when seeking redress for defamation, the plaintiff is given liberty as to who to sue, particularly when the material has been published under a social media platform or it has been republished. Finally, there is a time limit, and a claim of defamation must be made within 12 months of the defamatory material being published. But keep in mind, please, in order to be successful, the defamatory material must actually be untrue. Thus, you must realize that if you are going to bring a case against somebody, everything in your life is going to be intensely scrutinized. And if the commentary is in fact true, then it could end very badly for you. It would seem that just because Mr. Lehrmann had escaped a criminal conviction, it didn't mean that he couldn't be found guilty on the balance of probabilities of having raped Brittany Higgins. This is something his lawyers should have been very well aware of, and thus you can see why his case didn't actually hold up. What do you think? Please leave a comment below.